with the Shiur, but we're going to go right there.
You did say it, but...
I said it, and then it was also in the emails regularly. People got so confused with, I don't know why, with Schwartz coming in. I had 20 people ask me, was he in already? Is he in already? The schedule says May 14th is the first Shiur. I wasn't sure what. It was very confusing. It was a very confusing time. But anyway.
It's Mother's Day.
It's Mother's Day, that's what it is.
That's the most, that's the most confusing.
Okay, here we go. No, Mother's Day is clear because everybody, in Halach, everybody knows who the mother is. It's the father, that's a chazaka, it's this or that. Okay.
What's Father's Day?
What is Father's Day?
Yeah.
It's in June sometime.
Oh, I heard Mother's Day.
I was born on it, so it was...
Oh, you were?
My father's still deciding whether it was a
Some neighborhoods.
That was a joke. I didn't even say I know what Father's Day is. I'm just saying, Mother's Day is like,
No Hebrew yet. The Rav's not here yet.
Okay, fine.
It's okay. I mean, I'm working on mine, actually. I'm practicing. So you can... Okay, so
I was doing Duolingo this morning on Hebrew, trying to brush up.
I've been working on it for a week now. Okay.
Very good.
Good. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting the fourth parak, Lamaisa. I feel bad that Kevin's not here. I don't know if I'm going to have to chazer over again, but let's start here. We broke down Bitachon Lamaisa. According to the Chavos Levavos, now in the fourth parak, we're going to take all the Yisodus that we already worked on. Now, working on it means we learned about it intellectually. We have to download it into the heart, because if you don't download it into the heart, it ain't going to work. B'shas Maisa. But be that as it may, as of course we're trying. So we're going to now take these Yesodos and now have them, we're going to utilize them, Lamaisa, in all situations of life. So we discussed last week there's seven major categories of a person's life that we have to utilize every Bitachon. Everything in life, every moment, literally every single moment you're breathing, fits into Bitachon. Whether we discuss every single Nakuda exactly, which it's not shaykh to speak about every single Nakuda, you have to know, you have to believe, you have to trust every moment you breathe, every single thing that's happening in this world. So therefore, if it's all from him, and you have Emunah, therefore there's an opportunity, of course, for Bitachon. But we're going to speak about the bigger categories, and we'll try to break that down into examples as much as we can. But of course we're limited, and what's the pasuk say? It's the one who's smart can then take it right. Yosef, I forgot the pasuk is. Exactly, thank you. Right? If you give them chachma, now it's specifically chachma, by the way, because chachma is the klalim versus bina, which is the pratim. So that's why the pasuk specifically uses the word chachma. You give them the yesodos, then they should be able to draw it down into their life appropriately. So we're on page 113. And this is what's going to happen right now. I'm going to read until page 115 or 16, pretty much straight. I might interject a little bit. It could be I'll interject a lot. I don't know. I'm hoping it's just a little bit. But I want to read it straight without any questions. And then, sorry, my voice. And then we will explain more. You might have some questions. But we have to see the whole picture of the Chavos Levavos first. So on page 113, we'll just read carefully, slowly. V'omer b'feirosh ha'chelik harishon mehem v'hu b'nyani guf ha'adam b'lvad v'him chayev v'mosu v'teref v'zono v'chiyoso v'mabusha v'diroso v'riuso v'cholyo u'midosov. I will say as an explanation of the first category of the seven, which, as outlined above, consist of matters that pertain solely to the person himself. For example, his life and death, food for his livelihood, clothing, shelter, health and illness, and character traits, which a person needs in order to function well. All of these things that are directly connected to the guf, the person, the guf of the person, the nefesh of the person, we are going to have to discuss the emunah and the bitachon that one needs to connect to in these inyanim. V'ofnei hayosher b'vitachon elokim b'chol inyan mehem sheyashich es nafshe behem lahalichos hagozer asher gozer lo abar mehem. Regarding each of these matters, life and death, clothing, shelter, health and illness, all of these things, the proper manner in which a person is to rely on God, to have bitachon, and a Kodesh Baruch Hu is to give himself over regarding all these matters to the predetermined ways in which the Creator has decided to conduct himself with him. Kodesh Baruch decides when a person is going to be born, when a person is going to die, when a person is going to get sick. Kodesh Baruch decides when a person is going to get a house. Kodesh Baruch decides which inner midos are innately inside the person. That is all predetermined by Kodesh Baruch Hu. Give yourself over to that. Again, I'm just going to read straight, and then we'll explain more. V'tivtach nafsho belokim yizbarach. V'yeda kilo yigomer lo mehem el masha kadam. Next page. V'das haborei shu hanachal ninyanov b'olam hazeh u'b'olam haba v'yoser tov la'achritza. He should rely on God. Bitachon. Right? Heart. Your heart should be at ease. That's what bitachon means, according to the Shaar HaBitachon. Your heart should be able to be at ease. Menuchas nefesh, yishuv adas, trusting in a Kodesh Baruch Hu, may he be blessed, and recognize that none of these manners come into being. Nobody gets sick. Nobody has bad midos. Nothing that happens to a person in any way comes into being unless it has been predetermined by God that they are proper for him, both in this world and the world to come, and that all will ultimately be for the best. When you download that into your system, okay, it has to be downloaded, more than in your mind, but into your heart, then you have the yicholos, the ability to be calm during any situation. There will always be situations that are high-level nisyonos, and they might shock a person, shake a person. That's okay. But we have to get this clear, that life and death, health, illness, whatever, clothing, all the things that a person has are predetermined by Kodesh Baruch Hu. Therefore, al tidak. Don't worry. It will come. It'll happen. Vishan hogas abori lo bekulam shav. Ein l'shum bria behem eitzav lo hanhaga ela b'shuso u'gzeiroso v'dina. He should also realize that God conducts himself equally regarding all those matters, so that no other being's advice or behavior can help him. Kodesh Baruch doesn't listen to anybody else to tell him how to deal with us. Each person, it's a Kodesh Baruch Hu and you. Personal, nobody else gets involved. Unless it's with God's permission and according to his decree and judgment. So ultimately, it's always up to Kodesh Baruch Hu. We're not going to get involved now, but there's the Orach HaKodesh that everybody talks about with the Yosef. They wanted to throw Yosef into the pit. Rather throw him into a pit than being in the hands of Bnei Adam. It's better to be, because God has jurisdiction over the animals, but over man has bechira, he has choice. It has to be understood properly. But ultimately, everything is up to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Man's choice can only be still within the realm of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hanhag. So if you can download this emunah into your head, that everything that happens to a person personally is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you believe it's for the best, okay, that's belief. You can't be proven that necessarily. This is why it's called emunah and bitachon. If you can do that, and nobody else has any say over what happens to you, therefore, it's possible, and a person can trust and be at ease and be calm and even be besimcha, even when things are happening that are objectively rough or difficult. It's for your best. It's coming from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It might not be what you expected, it might not be what a person necessarily wants, but the goal is to be mevadel our wants to a Kodesh Baruch Hu's ultimate wants. Weiter. U'kamosha ein biyad abrum chayv u'mosa v'choli u'briuso. Kain ein biyodem teref mezono v'sipuko u'lavusho u'shar inyane gufo. Just as a person understands that no being has power over his life or death. We'll speak about that. That is a difficult concept. What do you mean? This guy just shot the other guy in the head. What do you mean he doesn't have power? But let's just read the words. Whatever the Chovos says is emes. We just have to understand them sometimes. Just as a person understands that no being has power over his life or death, his illness or health, so too no being has any control over his livelihood, his other needs, his clothing, and the other matters pertaining to his body. believe what the Chovos is saying. You have to allow yourself to believe it. You might not understand every single word he says, and we'll try to discuss more. But a person, the Sugi of Emunah means believing more than you can prove, more than you know, or else it's not Emunah. Bitachon is only dependent on Emunah. This Sefer has been around for 1,000 years. Nobody argues with it. You might have different days, there's another Mahalach maybe. I've never seen anybody say the Chovos is wrong. I've never seen such a thing in my life. So we might have to understand what he's saying, but don't allow your questions or your sfeikis. I'm not talking to anybody in this room. I'm talking about to the Rivos people who are, going to listen to this, thousands of people. I'm joking. Mm-hmm. But don't let any doubt that you have or any questions that you have neutralize your ability to believe what he's saying. We'll discuss. But nobody has any jurisdiction. It doesn't matter if a person has a gun to another person's head, chas v'sholom, and pulls the trigger. That was only with Rishus. Kodesh Baruch Hu decided that this was what needs to be done. That person is going to get in trouble. The one who shot, the person who passed away, it was a cheshbon. It's a Kodesh Baruch Hu's cheshbon. Now, this was Tzad Aleph of all of the matters that are pertaining to the guf. Believe 100%, give yourself over. That's it. Trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Whatever happens is mamish for the best. Now let's go to Tzad Beis of that. But before that, let's just read this title heading on 115. True bitachon means understanding that even if others seem to have influence over a person's livelihood and needs, in truth, everything is in God's hands. And no one can have any influence over his livelihood or needs unless God has predetermined it. Very clear. The author now returns to further elaborate on the topic of hishtadlus, endeavor, trying, whatever you want to translate that as, which is discussed in chapter 3, by saying that even a person who fully relies on God must still make efforts to pursue the natural means that will benefit him. This is Tzad B. It is as important, and we'll see, it's as important as Tzad Aleph. They're not two different pieces. Emunah Bitachon and hishtadlus are not two different things. It's really one. Because whatever we say in hishtadlus is a Kodesh Baruch Hu's rotzen. And we trust in a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We want to do his rotzen, and his rotzen is we do hishtadlus. So although we fully give ourselves over to whatever happens in our life and death, parnasa, clothing, shelter, sickness, health, all of the inyanim of our guf, at the same time, the imbera emunaso kinyanim mosra gzer sabor yisala, v'shebechira sabor lohi bechira hatova, chu chayv l'zgalgil l'sibos to'aloso v'l'v'chor hatov kinira lo meneni, v'lokim yaseh mashe kadma bo gzeroso. However, accompanying the person's conviction that, 1, all his matters are completely under the jurisdiction of the decrees of the Creator may be exalted, Emunah Aleph, and Emunah Beis, everything that the Creator chooses for him is the best choice. It's chazering over. With that, at the same time, the person is also obligated to make efforts to pursue the means that will benefit him and to choose those means that appear to be the best. If there is a person coming at you with a gun, you're allowed to run away and duck. You don't have to say, well, if he's running at me, this is what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants, so I'll just stand here like a sitting duck. That's Amaratzis. 100% of Kodesh Baruch Hu sent this person to chase you. But 100% you should run and try to get out. And if the guy catches you, that's exactly what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants. There's no stira between any of them. There's no stira. And this happens with parnasa as well. This happens with trying to buy a house, trying to get clothing, trying to do anything, trying to get food for yourself, and the coffee spills and it doesn't get into your mouth. Or any situation in life. There's millions of situations. We cannot go through all of them. Believe 1,000,000% that it's a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and it's for the best. But at the same time, do what you need to do. But Bitachon says, do it b'neimus, b'nachas. Do it with a controlled heart, a controlled leave. Now, if the situation is a guy with a gun, chas v'shalom, then you can run really fast, and you can be huffing and puffing. It doesn't mean run like you're just, relaxed running. Be normal. Bitachon means actually be normal, but at the same exact second, every single moment, you believe that a Kodesh Baruch Hu is the one who's running the situation. It's like the best way to live. It's the best. Some people just think that life happens to them and they're victims of life. So and then they have to take control over the situation. And then they have anxiety, and then they have worries, and then they try to go this way and go that. It doesn't work, and they get upset. You could do the same phone calls, the same reports, the same driving 2 hours to the job, whatever it is. But the Kodesh Baruch Hu, this is what he wants. This is what he wants. Who am I to start making decisions this way or that way? And if you want something different, you can ask him. You're allowed to ask. And if he says no, he says no. If he says yes, he says yes. Good, sure. But with a heart that's b'menucha, that's the test. You know if you're holding in bitachon, if you go through situations and days in life and of your life and situations and events, and you deal with them with a general sense of calm. All right, fine. I'll decide if I'm going to answer it now.
So what if there's like a recalculate? So if I chose a path in life, made wrong choices, and it's now 10, 20 years later, I'm trying to come back, or at that road now, that path, there's also the same ishtadlus and emunah, but in a different path than it was 15 years ago because of choices that were made. So that's the same.
New path is,
in other words, what was yesterday's choice is today's
reality.
basher.
Yesterday's looking back, I have emunah that's what Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted. Whenever we look back, anytime you look back over your shoulder to last minute, last hour, last month, last week, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100% emunah that's what Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted.
Back is easier. Forward is what you're saying, though.
I'm talking about back now. We're talking about back.
Back's easier. It's done. There's nothing you can do.
Okay.
But going forward is the challenge.
I'm not there yet. Relax. 1 second. Lock.
Back is also hard. I'm not one of the regulars here. My name is Nicole.
I know it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than moving forward.
We're not.
Back is easy. Back is very hard. Back you can't change.
No questions. That's it. You lost your opportunity. Children.
If someone regrets the career
No
choice they made for
spitballs.
25 years, that can be very difficult.
Sure.
They wish I would have been an actuary, let's say, which I actually do. But no, I do. I wish I would have gone to actuary. I think it's a great job, right? And I didn't.
Okay.
That's
do
a
it
struggle.
now.
Anyway, okay.
Wherever you're holding a life, that moment, 100% emunah bitachon. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. All the thoughts, all the negativity, all of the anxieties and the worries of what was, that's all a person's own narishkeit. The emes is that where you are is exactly where Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to be. Cut everything else out.
But it sounds different. If a 5-year-old were able to express himself and say, okay, I was created with the destiny of being short or being whatever it is, it wasn't my choice that led me down a certain path. Compare that to someone who made choices that caused them to be in a certain path. It's so much more difficult.
Yeah. We're not saying it's not difficult. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. When you're going through life and you're making choices, that's our bechira, that's the forward-moving progress of life is very difficult because on one hand we have choices, ishtadlus, but at the same time on the other side of the page, it's emunah bitachon every single second. So even our choices that we make really are falling under what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants. It takes time. You cannot just say 1 + 1 = 2 in this. This is not a 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. This is not math. This is a complicated mixture of thoughts, feelings, all this stuff. The truth is we have to get all of the feelings out of it. That's the truth. We need to learn this very cold and just emunah, and then allow it to trickle down. You're mixing. When we're learning a sugya, and a person starts thinking, well, how could you explain the past 30 years of my life? You're going to have a rough time, because if you're going to bring 30 years of baggage into this new limud, you're already 30,000 feet down under the ground. So to start building, it's going to take a long time. Part of emunah and bitachon is cut the baggage. Just cut it. And trust and believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you're allowed to do that. If a person holds on, that's only Atzis Yetzer Hara. You need to believe that because it sounds like all logic is going against that. Very good. Welcome to the world of Emunah Bitachon. 1 second. You're making me very nervous with that look. Think about it first. Write it down.
I'll be nervous.
When you say cut
Not
the
really.
baggage, what happened to cheshbon? A nefesh. You can't cut the baggage. You have to have a cheshbon b'nefesh. You have to look back and you have to say, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? You can't just say, well, God wanted me to do it this way. I got nothing to think about.
We'll talk about that. These are very dagistic, complicated types of questions, and you have to have the yasodos clear, or you're going to make mistakes in the pratim. Also, we need to learn how to expand. I call it 3D living. Most people in this world, I don't care if you're in the Gashmis world, the Ruchnis world, you live 2D, black or white. It is so far from the truth. There's also a nice yummy middle, and that's the problem. Everybody learns it's either cut the baggage or don't cut the baggage. What if I cut the baggage? Then I means I cut off everything in my past. That means that's not me. That all my mistakes are not me, and I don't have to learn from my mistakes. No one's saying that. It means don't bring your emotional baggage into the now. Of course, if you're a Baal Kas, you have anger, just because I cut the baggage in my mind, that doesn't mean I've changed my life. I'm still a Baal Kas right this moment. But I don't have to remember the time that I yelled at my parents and my teachers and I lost myself at work. Drop that. Of course you still have to work in your Kas right now. What are we talking about over here? Let's be normal. Of course. And of course you might have to do tshuva for past mistakes. That's the sugi of tshuva. But your emotional baggage from the past should not impede your now. No one said such a thing. God never said such a thing. It was never part of the plan.
Every choice a person makes is with the that he's not going to make a mistake because it's going to be bashar to do this because it won't go right.
You're saying a person thinks that or that's natural?
No, I'm about to make a decision, the bechira. You're not going to go wrong because it's a bashar.
If a person sets himself, he has the emunah. Whatever I decide, it's going to be a Kodesh Baruch Hu's decision. But he has to do the ishtadlus to try to make the right decision. And yes, then Kodesh Baruch Hu, if you say yourself every single time, you can speak to Rav Schwartz when he comes in. This is what he teaches. If you will set yourself and you say with the words, Kodesh Baruch Hu, I'm trying. I'm trying it. I don't know if it's A or it's B. Not sure. You try to work it out to your best. If you have to ask somebody, yes. At the end of the day, you don't know. Or you have to make a split-second decision. Kodesh Baruch Hu, I know. That's up to you. And then you make that decision. Even afterwards, if it looks wrong, it wasn't wrong. You might have to recalculate. You made a wrong turn. Yes, Waze is going to now take you around the other way. You have to get there. But maybe you needed that wrong turn. Maybe you needed to work on your gaiva. Maybe you needed to make some mistakes in life. We don't understand how teeth every single moment of our life is. You're right over there?
What's teeth?
I'm taking it.
Teeth means
What's teeth?
Deep. It's not black and white. People live in such a black and white world. Because why? Because people are not in touch with their inner emotions and their inner thoughts. I can refer you to some svarim from Schwartz with that also. People live, I do or I don't do. Yeah, we think a little bit and then we do. You're missing like the entire system. What are your motivations? What are you really thinking about? What do you really want? You know how many people are doing things in life and they are so not in touch with why they're doing what they're doing? You know how many people are learning Torah and they have no idea why they're learning? You know, people are davening, they have no idea. I'm not saying they don't know the words. What's pushing them? You know what's pushing them? Their parents at 3 years old. That's still the motivation today. That's empty.
Very good.
It's very empty. It's everything in life. If you don't know your inner motivations, you don't know your inner feelings, you're not living to the full capacity that we have.
Does it have anything to do with emunah, what you just said? Is that a different, that's a different
Everything
sugya,
has to do
no?
with emunah. Yeah, it's a different sugya because it's a different understanding, but everything plays within the world of emunah. And the more you understand with the insights, again, these are months, these are years of sugyas you have to work on. It doesn't take 2 seconds. But the more your emunah is real, it's hard to explain. I can't explain it intellectually. But I'll go upon it. So on one hand, everything is bashert, and trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, everything. Illness, again, everything to the guf. On the other hand, you have to try to do what's normal. Try. But don't overdo it, because then if you overdo it, then you have to think, do I really believe the Kodesh Baruch is in charge? Do I have to make 4,562 phone calls to this one guy that I want to make a deal with? I think that's a little pushing it, right? That might be a little bit too much. A person has to be a thinker, has to be in his head. Kodesh Baruch runs a situation. Now slowly, what does that mean? What is it? What should I feel? How should I act? If I really, really believe that he's the one in charge, how should I act? How should I feel? Do you go to doctors? Of course you go to doctors. Of course you have to go to a doctor. But do you lose yourself? Or do you stay, you listen to the doctor, you hear what he says, and when you take the pill, it's halach and shulchan aruch. You take the pill with the Kodesh Baruch on your lips. Because he's also in the pill. Who gave Tylenol the ability to become Tylenol? Kodesh Baruch Hu. Right? It's all there. It takes believing, downloading, letting it settle into the heart again and again. And I always say, once a week is not enough. To change an entire way of thinking, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of baggage, or not thinking about the Borei Olam, and not trying to just inject him into every single moment, Matthias is going to be very difficult. But it's possible. Guess why? Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is the one who's helping you do it anyway. So we have to just do our ishtadlus and try. And the more you try, the more he'll help you. Very simple. Very simple. You can't study for a test for 1 second and think you're going to get 100. That's the way Hashem created Teva. Are there exceptions? Within Teva, Kodesh Baruch Hu made exceptions. You have those kids who are geniuses. And you have sometimes a guy makes $1 million in 1 second. And you have the people who can learn the Gemara once and they understand it in 1 second. But for the Hamonam, for the regular people, it's not how it goes. That's the Teva that Hashem created. And the more you put in, the more you get out. And once in a while, when a person puts in enough, Kodesh Baruch Hu just opens up his head a little bit more than is normal. That's after you put your shtadlus in. Not a shtadlus without a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Your shtadlus with a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu, today I'm going to learn Torah with you. Today I'm going to go to work with you. The more you think about it, the more you speak to him. I could refer you to, again, the expert is in the house. All this is coming, I'm telling you right now, all this is coming from his farm. So any questions you have about these inyanim, you can ask him. Let's just read the next page also. Might have to chazer again next week, and it's better for those who are here to have heard it once, and if the chazer again, it's even better. Because it takes time to let it settle and to hear it again. If we could learn every page 10 times and then move on, hachiyatov. So let's just read 115 because we'll get set up for the next year. The author compares his conviction to the universal understanding that one must eat in order to stay alive, and that one must take other measures to protect his life. You got to do shtadlus, you got to eat the food. V'adom lezeh, ki adam afal pisha kitzo umidas yomov kishurim begezeres abori yizbarach. Yesh al adam nizgalgil l'sibas achayim b'machal u'mishlam albish u'ma'on kefi tzarko. V'lo yanicha zeh al elokim sh'yomer im kadam begezeres abori she'echya yasher nafshi begufim mibli mazon kol yimei chayim. By way of comparison, although the end of a person's life and how long he will live have been fixed by the decree of the Creator, Kodesh Baruch Hu knows exactly the moment the person is going to pass on from this world. May he be blessed. The person must nevertheless pursue the means that preserve his life, such as food, drink, clothing, living quarters, could even be vacations, if he needs that for his life, everything, according to his needs. Regarding them, the person is not to rely on God, bitachon, by saying, well, if it has been predetermined by the decree of the Creator that I should live, then He will keep me alive, even without food, for my entire life. I believe Hashem is the kol yachol. He can do anything. So why do I need to eat? Hashem will keep me alive. And I will not exert myself in pursuing sustenance or in the toil that is necessary to obtain a livelihood that will pay for the substance. You're not supposed to say such things. You have to do your shtadlus. But a shtadlus is within the realm of a bitachon of trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's not side by side. I trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu 100%, and I trust that He wants me to do this avodah. Let's continue next week.